Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome into the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Wednesday, April 13th, 2016. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Bucknuts contributor Brandon Castel. B-Cast, always great to talk to you. How you doing this morning?
Doing great, Dave. Thanks for having me on. Always good to be on with the Bucknuts folks.
Let's talk a little spring game. It's going to be nice weather on Saturday. Urban Meyer wants 100,000. I hope he gets it. I think it'll be at least 90,000. You know, life is good as an Ohio State fan when you're hoping for 100,000 for a spring game. Maybe people will be disappointed if it's only 90,000 paid attendance for a spring game, but it's going to be fun. Let's start with the offense. There's so much to talk about as far as what we're looking forward to seeing. Just looking at the offense, what are you looking forward to seeing the most on Saturday?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question, and it is funny that you say that nowhere else in the country, and there's a lot of tremendous programs that have, you know, tremendous followings and incredibly rabid fan base, but I don't think there's anywhere else in the country that would be a little upset if they didn't get to 100,000 people for the spring game. So pretty unique for Ohio State. I know they were pretty close last year, and they're ahead of schedule with some of the pre-sale this year, so it seems like they should be able to get there with some of the weather forecasts. I think it wasn't this past weekend here in Ohio, but yeah, I look ahead to the spring game. What I'm looking forward to most is really seeing some of these guys in action. You know, really getting a chance. I know it's not going to be a real chance to see them. You know, obviously they're not going full go. They're not, you know, out there flying around hitting people, and it's always hard to get a gauge. And you know, we've been through many spring games in the past where you're all geared up to see these guys fly around and make plays, and then it just kind of seems like nobody's doing a whole lot of anything. But you know, anyways, I think what I'm really excited to see is some of the younger guys that we've heard a lot about, you know, guys that like Mike Weber, you know, where we haven't really got to see him a little bit in practice, but not really outside of that. See a guy like Mike Weber carry the football in a game where people are trying to tackle him, where, you know, where there's guys flying around. You know, see some of the young receivers, and Austin Mack, you know, James Clark, I think Johnny Dixon, you know, getting a chance to see a couple of these guys and, you know, see if everything that we've heard, you know, is what we're getting to see when they're actually out there and the lights are on. And, you know, as real an environment as you can get, you know, before we really get into the season and really get into, you know, finding out what this team is made of. And so I think that's what I'm excited to see. A lot of those young guys on offense. I want to see, you know, we haven't gotten to see much of Johnny Dixon the last couple of years. So I want to see a healthy Johnny Dixon flying around, see if he can make a few plays. Doesn't always translate into success in the fall, but always interesting to watch. You know, and I think the one other thing I'm looking to see is just the quarterbacks, other than J.T. Barrett. So Joe Burrow, Stephen Collier, you know, just get a chance to see those guys kind of rip it and, you know, let it fly a little bit and see if they can make some throws and just, you know, see what the Buckeyes might have behind J.T. Barrett.
Yeah, 8 new starters on offense and also 8 new starters on defense. So let's switch to the defensive side of the ball. I guess that's what's kind of cool. It's not like just the offense has like a bunch of new starters, but the defense is fully loaded. It's equal on both sides of the ball. You know, what are you looking forward to the most defensively on Saturday, Brandon?
Well, I think, you know, we've got a new guy out there calling plays in Greg Schiano, so I think it's interesting just to see, you know, are there going to be any, you know, little nuances? Not really much you can tell in the spring game, but really kind of looking at that back end. You know, how much is different from last year. Obviously, a lot of new faces all across the defense, you know, basically a whole new secondary other than Garyon Conley. But, you know, I think everybody's anxious to see what do the Buckeyes have up front. You know, they lose Joey Bosa, they lose Adolphus Washington. You know, really getting a chance to see what some of these young defensive linemen, because I've always maintained that those are the guys that are going to make or break your team. You know, if you're able to get to the quarterback, if you're able to stop the run, you know, then I think you can be a pretty good defense. If you can't do those things, then you're going to have some issues. And so, you know, I'm looking at, you know, some of the young guys like a Jalen Holmes, who we've heard a lot about, you know, some of the inside guys as well that we keep hearing about, the Tracy Sprinkles, you know, Sam Hubbard, Jayshon Cornell, some of those young guys that we've been hearing a lot about, but now we're going to get to see them kind of fly around, see if they can make some plays. You know, again, only the spring game, but really getting their feet wet with some of these young guys that are going to have to play. That's the thing. It's not like, unlike the receiver position, they don't have a lot of guys who are sitting out. You know, obviously Tyquan Lewis is the one guy who is, but they don't have a lot of guys that are just waiting to come back in the fall. So the guys who we're going to see in the spring game are the guys they're going to be relying on, you know, the Tracy Sprinkles and those guys to really step up, the Jalen Holmes, and they've got to come in and make some plays for this defense because they're pretty young everywhere. So, you know, they got to take some pressure off of Raekwon McMillan who's really the only guy that they can rely on in that front seven from a year ago. So interested to see how those guys fare against this young offensive line as well.
Switching gears to basketball, Buckeyes landed, in my opinion, a very intriguing JUCO transfer yesterday. C.J. Jackson from Eastern Florida State. Only played 1 year of JUCO ball, has 3 years of eligibility remaining. He signed with George Mason out of high school. He was a high school star in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and there was a coaching change at George Mason, so he decided to go to JUCO just for 1 year and just open his recruit up. And the Buckeyes are fortunate to land him. 6'1", 170, not a very big guard, but I like these stats. At 1 year at JUCO, 16.9 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists per game, and shot 45% from three-point range. I tell you, when a guy's 6'1", 170, he's averaging almost 5 rebounds a game. That shows me he has some toughness. He can shoot the three well. He can score very well. And the one thing I don't like, 3.5 turnovers a game. So not a great assist-to-turnover ratio, 4.5 assists, 3.5 turnovers a game. But I think when you're talking about maximizing what you can find on the market at this point, I think they really maximize what they could have found. I mean, you're talking about, you're not going to get some guy that's going to come in and be the Naismith Award winner as a JUCO transfer. I think they found a really good guy here in C.J. Jackson that can come in and be that main backup guard, and it's huge with the Buckeyes losing A.J. Harris. They needed to find somebody that could come right in and play, and now they have a backup for both Jaquan Lyle at the point and even Cam Williams at the 2.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think obviously with Harris leaving, they needed a guy. They had to go out and get somebody to fill that spot, and the numbers are there. The overall profile seems to be there. And this is a kid who played, same Florida prep school that D'Angelo Russell came out of, that Micah Potter came out of. So, they had some familiarity with this kid. I don't think it's somebody that just went up and, pointed at a guy's picture on the wall and said, okay, maybe we get this guy. So, that's a little bit reassuring that they've got some familiarity with the program and, coaching staff and some of the people who are aware of what this kid brings to the table. But I think they got what they needed, at least what it looks like, is a guy who can handle the ball. And obviously I look at those turnovers and I think, this guy seemed to do everything for this team. I'm guessing he just had the ball in his hand pretty much 95% of the time. And so I'm sure those turnovers are a result of that. But, whenever you're moving from a junior college to a place like Ohio State, you're going to be asked to come in and actually play your first year. I think you got to keep expectations low for what he can really bring to the table. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. Obviously they'll be very fortunate if he comes in and he's able to shoot the three consistently. But, if he can just give them some good minutes off the bench, keep the energy, be able to score a little bit for them, I think it's a great pickup for this staff, for the Ohio State program. They definitely needed to get some fresh bodies in that court, so I think that'll be a good pickup.
Sticking with basketball, last topic on the show here. It's not official yet, although it'll be shocking if it doesn't happen. Chris Jent sounds like he will return to Ohio State as an assistant coach, and he was phenomenal during his 2 years at Ohio State. He's been a mainstay in the NBA for years, even had a stint as an interim head coach in the NBA with the Orlando Magic, obviously a former player at Ohio State. And I think during Thad Matta's time, I'd put John Gross as probably the best assistant coach he's had. John Gross has not been a very good head coach at Illinois, but was an excellent head coach at Ohio University, and I thought was a fantastic assistant under Thad. I would put Chris Jent, right there at number 2 of the best assistant coaches Thad Matta's had. So if this does materialize, I think it's very exciting that Chris Jent is coming back to Ohio State to join Thad Matta's staff, BCast.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it couldn't be a better fit. You look at when he left the program after the 2013 season, it really was a good timing for him. He got a chance to go on and coach as an assistant in the NBA with the Sacramento Kings for 2 seasons, and that's really what you want to do. I mean, that's really obviously what these guys are interested in being a part of, is that NBA level. But once that kind of came to an end, I know he was coaching, I think, the Bakersfield Jam in the NBDL last year as their head coach. They didn't have a lot of success, and really that's not a place that I think you're going to get noticed, that you're going to have a lot of success is being an NBA DL coach. So I think it was a great opportunity with a spot opening on the staff for him to come in and be a part of it. I know he liked being at Ohio State. I know he's obviously a Buckeye for life, but he was a big value add and worked really well with Thad Matta, I think. I got to interview him a number of times when he was on the staff, and you could tell the guy just knows basketball. He understands the nuances of the game, of the offensive side of the ball. And I really thought his exit, I really thought that kind of slowed down the progression of guys like Sam Thompson and Shannon Scott. So, I think getting those guys back in here getting him back in here to work with these young guys, kind of taking that role that Jeff Bowles had, I think that'll be a great fit for the program. Kind of one of those little boosts that the program, I think, needed with, some of the transfers and with Jeff Bowles leaving to become a head coach at Stony Brook. I think this was the right timing to get a guy like Chris Jent to come back, bring some continuity to the program, and I think some excitement. I think, if you look at the numbers, obviously tremendous success when he was with the program, and some great teams as well, but they made it to the Final Four. They made it to the Elite Eight. They were scoring, I think around 74, 75 points a game. So, they were really a much better offensive team. Now they certainly have the talent to be better offensively. It's not like he's going to come in and be a magician, but, I think it'll be good for him to work with some of these young guys as they try to build a roster and build a team that can compete.
Excellent insights, as always, out of our Brandon Castel. You can catch his column every week on Bucknuts, Inside the Brain of BCast. Thank you very much, Brandon.
All right, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.